Okay, everybody, welcome to Chapter 7 for the Adobe Classroom in a Book for 2017 After Effects. Um, this this already has a screen recording, but this one's pretty straightforward. I'll just show you a few things on it. Um, the what we're going to be working with today is masks, and we're going to do a little bit of compositing. So to begin with, let's save this untitled project as your name and then chapter 7. And then I'm going to navigate to the chapter 7 folder, finish project, save it there. There are two assets we need to import. So I'm going to hit Command I to import and then go to the lesson 7 folder and import both of these assets, the turtle.mov and watchingtv.mov. So click open, and that brings them both in. This watchingtv.mov is the file that we're going to be building this composition from. So let's make it easy for ourselves and create a composition based on that. The method I'm going to use this time is I'm going to drag the watchingtv.mov down to my new composition icon in the project panel, let go, and it creates a composition that has all the same settings as the footage. Now what we need to do is I'm going to drag this turtle.mov down onto the composition, and what we need to do is superimpose the turtle onto the television. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to cut the television out, and then we need to be able to place the turtle behind it. So I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so that I can draw a mask in this television. So I'm going to hit Command plus 2 times. And this shot is locked down. It's not moving one bit. So we have the luxury of not having to motion track the TV and then place the turtle inside it and have the turtle move with it. It's just locked down, basic screen replacement. Nothing's crossing in front of the TV, so this is going to be easy. Initially, what I'm going to do is duplicate the watching TV layer. So I'm going to select that and hit Command D. And then on the duplicated layer, I am going to draw a mask using my pen tool inside that television. So do you guys remember the key to activate the pen tool? G. Very good. G for good. Oh, that was lame. All right, so now I'm just going to put a vertex on each corner of where you should see the corner of the television. And then close that. Now, it looks like nothing happened, and that's because I just drew that mask on the duplicate. So if I solo that layer, all I see is the television screen. Okay? Now to bring up mask properties, it's M, and that'll bring up your mask path. If you hit MM, it'll bring up all the properties for the mask. All right. So another key command, the two properties you use the most with masks is the mask shape and the mask feather. To show just the feather, you hit F. Okay. So M is for mask path, F is for feather. I'll get into feathering it in just a minute, but for now what we need to do is we need to invert this so that instead of only showing the television, we invert it and cut the television out. Okay, so at this point what we can do is bring our turtle back in so we can see the little guy, unsolo that layer. Whoops, I still have my pen tool activated. Place it roughly on the television and then place it below the copy of the watching TV that we cut the hole in. Done, right? Finished? Not really. Although, I mean, it's not horrible. But what I want is, I want this entire turtle screen to be matching the corners of the television screen that we're putting it in. So to do that, I am going to use an effect called the corner pin. So I'm going to go up to my effects and presets panel, start typing in corner pin, and then apply that to the turtle layer. And what that did is it put a little crosshair at each corner of my turtle layer, so that I can now go in and adjust the corners of that so that I can bend that image so that each corner of the screen will match up with the television. And because this turtle isn't already a 16:9 video, it's got black bars at the top and bottom, I have to kind of like noodle each one of these corners until it looks right. So what that does is it creates perspective in the video that matches the perspective of the television. Okay, so if I solo that again, that's what it looks like. Okay, how's everybody feel about that? Me too, feels so great. All right, next thing we need to do is video footage, even 4K footage, is not ever going to be absolutely 100% crisp. Okay, so that's where the mask feather comes into play. This mask is actually, that turtle corner pins off a little bit. Let me adjust it. Just put you right there. All right. So that's where the feather comes in. If we just soften that even 2 pixels, then it'll create more of a lifelike edge around that television. Let me just change that to 1 pixel actually. It just softens that edge, because if that were totally crisp, it's more obvious that that turtle is replacing the television screen. Now here's one more thing, is that if I hide this, take a look inside that television screen. It's reflecting the room inside it. So if I replace this with a perfectly clear image, is that also realistic, or would it be more natural to see some of those reflections in the screen still? You want to see the reflections in the screen still, right? So you can do that by creating, we could create a new solid that's white, and we could place that below here and draw another mask around that one. Just go like this, maybe. And we could feather that a whole bunch, and then change the opacity of it and make it give it a screen transfer mode, you know, so that it looks like there's some television screen on there, some reflection. But I'm going to go one step further than that, and I'm going to duplicate this back layer again. No, I'm not even going to do that, because we have this layer as our top layer. I'm going to, well, before I do that, let's make sure the timing of the turtle coming on is right, because she's lifting her hand up in the video right here, and she's pushing a button, click, right? So let's have the turtle layer start right there. And then I'm going to, once again, I'm going to duplicate the watching TV layer, and I'm going to trim that so that it starts where my playhead, where my turtle layer is, okay? And let me show you why I'm using that as a duplicate. If I solo this layer, the watching TV, I'm interested in the reflections in here. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a levels filter. Add that to my duplicated watching TV below the turtle layer. And I'm going to brighten up the whites a whole bunch and maybe darken the darks a bit. And now if I turn that off, everything's back to normal. But if I change my turtle blend to more of a not overlay. Overlay is not working. What did I use earlier? Yeah. So if I change that to a screen mode, then it will adopt more of the colors that are inside the screen. So it'll adopt the black level. So the blacks won't be totally black in the footage appearing on the screen, and it'll show through some of the white stuff so that we can use the actual reflection from the room in the television. Can you guys see that? Turn on and off.
So what did you do to the levels?
So I added some contrast to this so that we can see these reflections a little bit better. If I turn off the levels, it doesn't make them as pronounced. You can still see them, but they're not quite as visible. So adding contrast, like brightening the highlights and darkening the darks a little bit, will allow that to shine through just a little bit more. So that's not in the book, but I think using actual reflections that are in the television is more realistic than trying to create your own little gradient that goes over the top of it. But if you don't have anything, then you definitely do want to add something to the screen so that the image that you're replacing isn't so perfect. That's the secret of compositing, is making things less perfect so that they're more realistic. By making them less perfect makes it more perfect, more seamless. The last thing that this book teaches us is to create a new solid. What's the key command for creating a new solid? I don't know why they made it Y. Command Y. I'm going to make a black solid. Click OK. And that puts it on top. Here's a little tip for adding a mask. If with it selected, if you grab your shape tool, I'm going to create a vignette. So I want the edges of the screen to kind of darken as they go out to the edge. And I do that by using an ellipse. So I can either go in here with my ellipse tool and drag and make it like that. But if I want to quickly create an ellipse that's the size of the solid, if I double click on the ellipse tool, it'll create a perfect ellipse for that. Now, what I like to do with vignettes is I like to take these handles and drag these up to the corner and then these out a little bit. As I grab each one of these handles, I'm holding down Shift so that it goes directly up and down. But that kind of makes the vignette a little less round and probably a little bit more natural. And I also, so down in my timeline, I need to invert this so that it goes dark toward the edges and not just, blackens the middle. So I'm going to invert this, and then I'm going to expand all of my mask settings so that I can hit MM. And I'm going to turn the feather way up. And then because this is getting really dark out toward this edge, if I change my mask expansion, that just pushes the boundaries of it out a little bit more. And then I can change my opacity using T and then make it a little less dark. And how does a vignette help us? Well, it really just depends on your style and your preference. I like a vignette that you can't tell that it's there, so I like to subdue my vignettes a lot. So I'm actually going to add more feather to this. Expand it a little bit farther. And now it's just a slight vignette. Okay, really soft vignette. And that's chapter 7. Now how long did that take me? That took 15 minutes. So I was 10 minutes long on the other one, 5 minutes short on this one, so I'm a net negative of 5 minutes over. All right, thanks everybody.